So we got Laura Loomer now directing State Department policy when it comes to the admission of kids from Gaza who are seeking treatment in the United States. Let's go ahead and put this up on the screen. She tweeted this. Exclusive, despite the U.S. saying we are not accepting Palestinian refugees into the United States under the Trump administration, I've obtained video footage of Palestinians who claim to be refugees from Gaza coming into the U.S. via San Francisco and Houston, Texas this month. The Palestinians traveled from Gaza to the U.S. with the help of a group called Heal Palestine. How did Palestinians get visas under the Trump administration to get into the U.S.? Did the State Department approve this? How did they get out of Gaza? Is Secretary Rubio aware of this? So after Loomer tweets, hey, we don't want these kids coming in from Gaza, lo and behold, State Department says all visitor visas for individuals from Gaza are being stopped while we conduct a full and thorough review of the process and procedures used to issue a small number of temporary medical humanitarian visas in recent days. And I'll play in just a second Marco Rubio. He was asked about some of this on the Sunday show. It was very actually lame questioning of him, but whatever. In any case, just to be totally clear, even what she's saying here about Palestinian refugees, personally, I would support it, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about temporary B2 visas that are used to allow people to come in and seek medical treatment. They are good for 6 months at a time. You have to seek an extension, prove you're continuing to receive medical treatment. You're not eligible for work. You're not eligible for permanent residency. That's what we're talking about here. We're talking about kids, oftentimes who had their arms and their legs blown off, frequently by American bombs, who are being allowed in very limited numbers in order to seek medical treatment here in the United States. And that is what Laura Loomer objects to. And that is who, by the way, describes herself as a quote unquote proud Islamophobe, and who the State Department is listening to in blocking these visas. So let's go ahead and take a listen to Marco Rubio on the Sunday shows, and then we'll get Saagar's reaction on the other side.
Why did the State Department just announce that they're halting visitor visas for all Gazans coming here for medical aid? Why would some of these kids, for example, who are coming to hospitals for treatment be a threat?
Well, first of all, it's not just kids. It's a bunch of adults that are accompanying them. Second, we had outreach from multiple congressional offices asking questions about it. And so we're going to reevaluate how those visas are being granted, not just to the children, but how those visas are being granted to the people who are accompanying them. And by the way, to some of the organizations that are facilitating it. There is evidence been presented to us by numerous congressional offices that some of the organizations bragging about and involved in acquiring these visas have strong links to terrorist groups like Hamas. And so we are not going to be in partnership with groups that are friendly with Hamas. So we're going to pause those visas. There was just a small number of them issued to children, but they come with adults accompanying them, obviously. And we are going to pause this program and reevaluate how those visas are being vetted and what relationship, if any, has there been by these organizations to the process of acquiring those visas. We're not going to be in partnership with groups that have links or sympathies towards Hamas.
So there you go, Saagar. They're Hamas.
Well, listen, I agree that the Palestinians shouldn't come here because I think they should stay in their current place, and they should be allowed to seek medical care in their own area, which they cannot do because they have all been leveled. Also, there is a very developed country called Israel, which has hospitals and specialized medical care. If they really cared about Palestinian children, they could treat them if they would like to. They're open. They brag about it, right? We got all these 5-star medical equipment, etc. The reason why, and again, I looked into it just like you did.
Yeah.
These are not refugees, people who are permanently living here. They're on a temporary visa to seek specialized medical care, which does not allow permanent residency. I guess it's fair to say that sometimes that does lead to permanent residency. So, okay, whatever. That's their objection. But what drives me nuts is the way that what drives me nuts is the way that we have all of this double standard. We literally just let an Israeli pedophile flee allegedly. An alleged pedophile, flee the country after he was caught in a sting here. That's no diplomatic outcry. The State Department, if anything, probably facilitated it, allegedly.
Yeah, where's Laura Loomer on that one?
Exactly. So do we care about security or any of that? More recently, our government actually launched a hate crime investigation after a soldier returned from fighting in Gaza and faced some backlash or whatever here in the United States. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, he's a foreigner by according to the U.S. passport, you are literally supposed to lose your citizenship if you go abroad and fight in a foreign military. And now our federal resources are being marshaled to protect. So we have not only just a double standard, but a sick standard here. So yes, let's make it so that they can stay exactly where they're from and seek medical attention.
Yeah.
There's an easy way to do that.
Maybe
that's not really something you want to do.
You know what? Gaza actually had
they had a lot of hospitals, I remember.
Extensive medical care inside of Gaza, especially given the difficult conditions that have been imposed on them for years and years and decades by Israel. But they had quite sophisticated. No more, because you bombed it all. You destroyed it all. And this is the thing, like, you know, from, if I'm to take a sort of like right-wing perspective or channel a right-wing perspective, if you don't want a lot of refugees displaced, then stop backing the fucking wars that displace. You think that Palestinians want to have their kids' arms blown off and seek treatment here? You think that's the life that they envision for themselves? Of course not. They would like to be in Gaza. They would like to be in their homes. But guess what? Our tax dollars went to destroying and turning all of Gaza, including, yes, the medical system, into rubble. And so given that context, to then object to, we're talking about a small number of kids coming here, and we can put this one 11-year-old boy, this is D4, up on the screen, coming here to seek specialized treatment, and you object to that. I mean, to me, it is so depraved. It is so sick as to be almost beyond words. These little kids who have had their childhood robbed from them. God knows the trauma that they've experienced, the loved ones in their lives, the family members that they've lost, who will never be able to gain back their limbs and their peace of mind that was stolen from them. And then the one little bit of kindness we have to be able to get them out of Gaza and get the medical treatment. And you're mad about that. That is so disgraceful. It is just unbelievable.
Well, this was a big debate back during the Syrian crisis that I remember over the Syrian refugee stuff. And, the Europeans obviously invited all these Syrian refugees and Afghan refugees into the country, destabilized, was responsible for Brexit, has caused problems basically now to this day. But like you said, to channel a more right-wing perspective, the solution the whole time was, why do we keep funding this? We are responsible for basically creating the political crisis and the problem here that is fueling all of this. There's I'll get canceled for this one, but there is a term or a phrase come up with a guy named Steve Saylor, which is invade the world, invite the world, which is basically like go abroad in search of monsters to destroy them, destabilize them either on behalf of Israel or support policy to do so, and then invite them, to your own country. Now, again, the Israelis out of two sides of their mouth are like, these people are so horrific that we cannot even be forced to live next to them. And then in the second breath, they're like, by the way, America and everybody else, you need to take them. And it's like, well, okay, so that, basically you don't really believe that, you just don't want to live next to them. I support their right to seek medical care in their own territory and or in Israel for creating that crisis, and to allow, also, this is the other question of, you're destroying all the hospitals and then you're blocking all of the aid that's even coming in there with GHF. I mean, all of these doctors who have gone into Gaza, all of them report massive problems even getting in there. Don't they have to go to the UAE or some other special system to be able to provide it? They lose power when they're doing so. These things occur because of what we are supporting. That's right. This is the classic invade and invite scenario that Saylor described. So I don't know. I mean, I think with Loomer, really what you're watching is kind of this like weaponized like hysteria over Palestinians and others, where if they actually cared about not wanting Palestinians to have to go anywhere, which of course they don't, they support it. They actually support the mass ethnic cleansing, really, of what's going on. Then you would support basically telling Israel no. And, if we have a blanket policy that Israelis and Gazans and all these others are not going to get any of more of our money and have much more of a fair application, but we don't. Our federal government basically, rolls out the red carpet for former IDF soldiers who are coming here, who are responsible in some cases for creating much of this. But then, the victims of it are then treated with contempt. So, I don't know. The whole thing is gross.
And just so you know, the type of people that she is objecting to being able to get treatment here, let's go ahead and play D4. This is a little 11-year-old boy and his family who, local news did a piece on, and they arrived in Atlanta. Let's take a listen.
Yassine Al-Gaban is slowly learning how to be a kid again in the suburbs of Atlanta. He came here all the way from Gaza after losing his legs in an airstrike last year.
Okay. He doesn't want to talk.
Arrived in the U.S. for medical treatment through the nonprofit Heal Palestine. Here in Atlanta, he'll need more surgery and eventually prosthetic legs.
He said, I'm fine.
Need for medical attention nearly caused the family to split apart.
So that's who, that's who Rubio was saying, oh, these are linked to terrorists. This is Hamas. This is who Loomer is, pitching a hysterical fit about to try to block their entry. And I truly just find the whole thing to be grotesque and disgusting.
I think it, again, is gross in the pro-Israel context. I mean, I don't think it's a secret, but like part of the problem is that there's always weaponized empathy for mass refugee status. But I mean, it almost feels silly to have that argument or discussion right now because no one's proposing that. No one is saying, well, actually Israel is proposing some sort of mass refugee expulsion, but there's not a serious debate right now to invite hundreds of thousands, if not millions of Palestinians, here to America. That's not actually what's even really part of the question. I mean, this is not even like the starting point of any of it. It's not a realistic political outcome other than the one that's being pushed by the Israeli. If it were, then I would be willing to have that argument.
We are the ones we are the reason this little boy doesn't have legs. Right? He lost family member. I believe he lost his father. We are the reason for that. And the tiniest bit of, this is a pathetic drop in the bucket. I think a few hundred kids. It's so minimal. And this is the thing that you're up in arms about. It is so disgusting. And if you don't want for these children to have to seek medical care abroad, then support the ending of the bombing and starving of them so that, yes, they could, where they would actually like to be at their homes with their loved ones, with their limbs and bodies intact.
Yeah, I believe Ryan also was pointing out that in many of the cases, it was a hyper-specialized medical, because people are like, oh, why do they have to come here? And he's like, well, in many of these cases, it's a very specific type of medical treatment available in the United States that's being paid for by donors and others with the scrutiny of the State Department on the B2 visa. Loomer has been saying like, oh, well, why don't they go to Arab countries? And it's like, well, in some cases, there are literally only specific procedures where they have doctors available in the United States. That's what I saw him in his back and forth with Loomer. But yeah, overall, it just goes to show you the level of which we can have just complete hysteria and panic in some sort of service of Israel, here with the victims of a policy which is directly supported by the last two administrations, by tax dollars and others.
Yeah.
What exactly is the way that we square it? And by the way, if it was a child, like an October 7th victim, and they were blocked from coming over here, what do you think these people would all
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You want to go there for a second? Let's do that.
Let me just, before we get to Pete, let me just read this exchange from Loomer and Ryan just to get it in here because, our man has been doing battle.
He's been going back.
He's been doing battle in the trenches over this one. So Loomer quote tweeted a drop site report and said, why should Palestinians be treated in American hospitals for free while U.S. veterans are homeless on the street, unable to get health care? This is why everyone hates them, because they want to come to our country, get free health care, and never assimilate. While Americans struggle to pay their bills, not even Americans get free health care, but you want Palestinians to have free health care while you are America last. Unreal. As if Ryan doesn't want Americans to get free health care, by the way. And this lady, you think she has ever supported free health care for all Americans? Okay. Anyway, Ryan responds, Trump slashed Medicaid, slashed the VA, slashed ACA exchange subsidies, and increased the military budget to over $1 trillion. But Loomer wants people to think the reason they don't have health care is that a Palestinian child got treated thanks to donations from people heartbroken at what Israel, and the U.S., by the way, is doing to children. This is a lie. The $1 trillion being spent to blow the arms and legs off of children is the problem, not the children themselves. Well said, my friend.
Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show ad-free and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show, help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com.